Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Angular 18 and what are the new features that we have in Angular 18. So the highlight of this release includes four things. First is the most awaited zoneless change detection. So yes guys, Angular heard us and zoneless change detection has been introduced with Angular 18. As of now, it is just the experimental features and I'm gonna talk about in detail about this in this video. And we're gonna talk about so many things about zoneless, like how can you implement it into your web application, and what are the sort of changes which are coming with zoneless, because now the default change detection strategy is not going to work into your application. So what are the alternative ways do we have, like if the change detection is no longer there, then how the change detections are going to work within your application. We'll talk about zoneless in detail. Second highlight is basically the Angular.dev. Yes, so Angular.dev was introduced in the Angular 17 version, which was the previous one, and now from now onwards, this is going to be the official document for the Angular, and it's pretty awesome, right? It is very much detailed. Yeah, so check this out. And the third thing is like a couple of more changes, like if you have noticed, like from the last three versions, Angular has given us so many features, including standalone components, introduction of signals, and built-in control flows, and so many things, right? So in this release, basically they just improved those things, and for example, the material 3 is more stable now, and we have deferrable views, built-in control flows are basically now more stable. And apart from this, there are a lot of new changes. We are going to talk about those things in a minute. And the fourth major highlight of this release is server-side rendering update. So server-side rendering improvements such as I18, hydration support, better debugging, hydration support in Angular material, and event replay powered by the same library which powered the Google search. It's gonna be amazing. So we'll talk about event replay as well in detail in this video, so make sure you watch it till the end. And after this video, within few days, I'm gonna create a tutorial like how can you use zoneless change detection into your application, and if you are upgrading from the previous versions, how can you basically do that, because I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna face a lot of problems. So yeah, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because I always keep uploading this type of video. So yeah, let's continue with the video. So yes guys, Angular 18 has been released today. There is one thing about Angular 18 is, like if you notice from the past three releases, Angular team has introduced a lot of new features and improvements. So this time they focused on polishing the work they have delivered in past three releases, and making the APIs more stable, and experimentally releasing one of the most desired roadmap project with Angular had is the zoneless change detection. Yeah. So the first point is evolving change detection. So historically, a library called Zone.js has been responsible for triggering the Angular's change detection. The library came with a number of developer experience and performance downsides. So basically, Angular team has been working for several years towards a way of using Angular that doesn't rely on Zone.js. And right now in Angular 18, they just introduced the developer experimental preview of zoneless change detection with the Angular 18 version. To make it work, you just need to add provide experimental zoneless change detection method to your application bootstrap, and that's all. After adding the provider, remove Zone.js from your polyfills in Angular JSON. Now let's talk about the advantage of zoneless change detection. So basically, zoneless opens up many doors for developers, such as improving the composability for micro frontends and interoperability with other frameworks such as React, Vue.js, and then faster initial render and runtime, maybe because the bundle size is very small now. Now React people cannot say that Angular is a little slower for the small application because the bundle size is huge. This is the main problem that we had in Angular earlier. So looks like it is being solved now, and yeah, bundle size is small and faster page load, of course. Then we have more readable stack traces, right? Then simple debugging, of course. So here's the example. The best way to use use Zoneless in your component is with signals, because see, if you're not using Zone.js, then something needs to be done, right, to trigger the generate action. So Angular is using signals to basically trigger the change. So that's how you can write your components now. This change also includes a new scheduler to avoid checking for changes multiple times consecutive. So I have attached this link in the description section where you can read more about the Zoneless change detections, and here you can learn like how to bootstrap the application. It will help you a lot actually when you are basically testing your code, because definitely the code is gonna break, because a lot of code is depends on the default change detection strategy, right? Okay, so let's talk about the next thing, which is native await for Zoneless apps. So Zone.js intercepts many browser calls to plug Angular change detection in. Unfortunately, async await is one of the APIs that Zone.js can't monkey patch, and therefore Angular team needs to down level it to promises via the Angular CLI, and that's suboptimal because all modern browsers supports async await, which are more expressive than promises and optimized by the JavaScript runtime. So today, if you create an app that uses the experimental Zoneless change detection, Angular CLI will use the native async await without down leveling it to promises, and this will improve debugging and make your bundles smaller. Component supports Zoneless. So Angular team has basically enabled the support for Zoneless in the Angular CDK and Angular material as well. So now you can generate a Zoneless component using just the Angular CDK. That means some commands like ng generate or something. I don't know currently which command is going to generate the components for Zoneless, but they just mentioned into the document that they have made some changes into the Angular CDK and Angular material. So I'll figure it out and update into the comment section if I found it. Alright, so let's talk about the next thing, which is new home for Angular developers. So the Angular team has introduced the Angular.dev in the previous release with the Angular 17 version, and they basically worked on it a lot, and now Angular.dev is the official documentation website for Angular. So on top of the new modern look and feel, you can find an interactive hands-on tutorials based on web containers, interactive playground with example improved search powered by Algolia, refresh guides, simplified navigations, and much more. Requests to Angular.io, which is the previous version of Angular documentation, is now automatically redirects to the Angular.dev, which is the latest Angular website. So basically I have attached the link of Angular.dev into the description section. Please go and check this out. It's an amazing website for Angular documentation. Let's talk about the next thing, which is Material 3, which is now more stable. So a couple of months ago, Angular team has introduced the experimental support for Material 3 after addressing the developers' feedback and polishing the Material 3 components. Now Angular 3 is the complete stable version, and along with this, Angular has basically refreshed the material.angular.io website with the new Material 3 themes and the documentations. You can find how to use Angular Material 3 in your application today, and you can follow the guide here, and I have basically attached the guide link into the description section. Again, you can go and check this out. Now let's talk about the next thing, which is Signal APIs in developer preview. So in Angular version 17.1 and 17.2, Angular team has introduced the new Signal inputs, Signal based queries, and a new output syntax. You can find all this information within the Signal guides. I have attached the link again into the documentation section. Let's talk about the next thing, which is Deferrable view, which are now more stable. So basically Angular team has received a very good feedback from the developer community about the Deferrable view, and one of the example is like the build.com, which has shared that by using @defer, they reduce the bundle size of one of their application with 50%, which is it's a huge number, right? So they worked on the Deferrable view and they made it more stable, so you can start using them into your application and libraries from today onwards. So the next thing is built-in control flow, which is now more stable. So basically in Angular 17 with Deferrable views, Angular team has also announced the new built-in control flow with improved performance. So in the 18 version, basically they just made it more stable and improved the control flows type checking. So let's talk about the next thing, which is improvements in server-side rendering, which is the major highlight of Angular 18. About a year ago, Angular team has introduced the hydration, and they made it stable in version 17. And according to Angular, around 76% of the Angular version 17 apps that uses pre-rendering or server-side rendering are already using hydration, and because of this it becomes the main blocker to get even more people to take advantage of the hydration. And lack of I18 support, it's kind of a big blocker. After collaborating with the Chrome Aurora team, Angular team has basically introduced the hydration for I18 blocks, and it's available in developer preview mode for version 18. Yeah, so let's talk about the next important thing, which is event replay. Event replay is very awesome, actually, trust me. This is gonna be a game changer. So less than 2 months ago, Angular has announced the long-term ongoing project that aims to converge the Angular and Google's internal framework Viz. So if you guys are not aware of what is Viz, Viz is basically is more about the consumer focused app and hyper focused on performance, and on the other side Angular has been focused on productivity and developer experience. Now basically they are merging together within the Angular 18. So as a result of this convergence, Viz deeply integrated Angular signals in their rendering model, and basically in the recent demo on the NG conference, they basically shared like how YouTube is now using the Angular signals. So in the same way, Angular is now bringing more and more performance-centric feature such as partial hydration, and it's going to be crazy. Just trust me. So I'll just give you an example of it, like how it's gonna work. So the most developers will not interact with event dispatch directly. So let us look into why event replay is useful. So here on your screen, it's a mock of a sample e-commerce website, and we added artificial loading delay to simulate a very slow network connection experience. Now imagine that while the page is loading and it has not been hydrated yet, the user wants to add multiple headphones to their cart. If the page hasn't been hydrated yet and thus is not interactive at all, so all the user's events would be lost. And starting from Angular 18, using event dispatch, Angular will start recording the user events. Once the application is hydrated, event dispatch replaces them, and we end up with 6 items in the cart. So the event replay feature is available in Angular version 18. In the developer preview, you can enable it using the with event replay method within your Bootstrap provider, like this. So let's talk about the next thing, which is improved debugging experience. So basically, Angular team has updated the Angular.dev tool to visualize the Angular hydration process. So now onwards, next to the each components, you can find an icon representing the component's hydration status. To preview which components Angular hydrated on the page, you can also enable an overlay mode. If your app has any hydration errors, Angular.dev tool will visualize them in the component explorer, like this. Okay, let's talk about the next thing, which is hydration support in CDK and material. In version 17, some Angular materials and CDK components were opted out of hydration, which caused their rendering. Starting from version 18, all components and primitives are fully hydration compatible. The thing is the plans for partial hydration. So basically, Angular team has announced the partial hydration at NG conference and Google I/O as well. So basically, it's a technique that allows you to hydrate your app incrementally after server-side rendering. Incremental hydration of your application enables loading less JavaScript upfront and improves your application's performance. So partial hydration builds on top of the same foundation as deferrable views. Here they just do one thing different. Instead of rendering the @placeholder block on the server as it happens today, now you will be able to enable mode where Angular will render the main content of @defer block on the server. On the client, Angular will download the associated JavaScript and hydrate a deferred block only when the trigger conditions specified in a template are met. For example, this code block will render the calendar component on the server once it reaches to the client. Angular will download the corresponding JavaScript and hydrate the calendar, making it interactive only after it enters the viewport. So this is just the prototype. It is currently not available in Angular 18. Let's talk about the next thing, about robust hosting for your app with Firebase app hosting. So Firebase announced app hosting at Google I/O this year. App hosting streamlines the development of dynamic Angular applications, which offers built-in framework support, GitHub integration, and integration with the other Firebase products like authentications, cloud, Firestore, and Vertex AI for Firebase. So here's the quick start guide. I have attached the link into the description. You can go through it and you can start hosting your Angular application on Firebase now onwards. And here are the others, some important feature of Angular 18. First is specifying a fallback content for ng content. So one of the most upvoted issues the Angular team was specifying it is default content for the ng content. So if you are an Angular developer and working on Angular from a long time, then you must already aware of what ng content is. It is basically used for content projection. So in version 18 it is now available, and here's the quick example. So here you can see that in this component we have app profile component, and we have some template here. In this template we have two ng content, and one is the first content is basically having a specifier with the class name .greeting, and default value is hello actually. So now we can use this component like this, and it will result in this good morning. But if you notice, there is unknown user as well, because this is what is being passed as the default value. If no user has been passed, or nothing else is passed apart from the good morning or this class, then it is going to add the default value, which is unknown user. So let's talk about the next thing, which is unified control state changes event. So basically form control, form group, and form arrays classes from Angular forms now exposes a property which is called events, which allow you to subscribe to a stream of events for this form control, and using it you can track changes in value, touch, state, pristine status, and the control status. So here is the example. Now we have a form control. In this form control the default value is name, and we have a validation that is required. That means this field is mandatory, and it is assigned to a variable called name control. So now you can directly subscribe to this form control using the events, and it is going to process the individual events. The next important feature, which is automating the migration to the application builder. So in previous version of Angular 17, Angular team has announced the application builder, and it was stable and enabled it by default for the new projects. And under the hood it uses white with ESBuild to replace the previous Webpack experience. And for the majority of the apps, developers were able to update to the new build system by updating their Angular.json file. And over the past 6 months, Angular team has collected more feedbacks from the folks and polished the update experience to enable everyone to move to the new build experience and receive an added refresh boost. And you can find the tooling that Angular team has developed to automate your update experience. So there is a link actually which I added into the description section. You can click on this link and go through the documentation. Yeah, and apart from this, since Webpack is not on the critical path of the new build system, so the Angular team has made the dependency on Webpack as optional. So it is optional now, and which allowed Angular to reduce the total number of dependencies for the Angular CLI by over 50%. Guys, this is huge. Angular CLI is going to be very lightweight now. So this change will basically speed up your Angular CLI install time definitely. And the next thing is route redirects as functions. So to enable higher flexibility when dealing with redirects, in Angular version 18, redirect to now accept a function which returns a string. And for example, if you would like to redirect to a route that depends on some runtime state, you can implement a more complicated logic in a function. So here's the example. In this example, you have created a path, all use page, and you added a redirect to, which is currently a function now. Earlier we used to add a string here, a path basically, but now you can add more complex logic, such as you can add some conditions like if something is true, then it should redirect to this particular path. If something is not true, then it should go to the error screen. So it's crazy, right? It's amazing. Yeah. So the next thing is TypeScript 5.4. Last but not least, Angular updated the dependency on TypeScript, which letting you take advantage of all the latest 5.4 features. And if you want to know about all those features, I have just attached a link into the description section. You can go through it. Alright, so that's all about Angular 18. And now I'm gonna create multiple videos on all these features which are basically being released in Angular 18. Sounds like very interesting. So I'll be creating and dropping those videos within coming days. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can get the notification whenever I upload those videos. And if you enjoy this video, make sure you hit the like button, and if you have any suggestion, make sure you add it into the comment section, and I'll just create a video on that particular topic first. Yeah, alright, so thank you guys, thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Take care, peace out.